Tonight's message is not loud. It doesn't arrive with chaos, fear, or emotional overwhelm. It arrives quietly, gently, almost unnoticed at first. And yet, if you're watching this on January 25th, the moon is doing something very rare inside your inner world. You are releasing the past without emotional pain, without the heaviness that usually comes with letting go, without the old ache that used to pull you back into memories, regrets, or unanswered questions. And if that sounds unfamiliar or even confusing, that's exactly how you know this message is for you. For a long time, release meant suffering. Healing meant crying, reliving, reprocessing, reopening wounds just to finally close them again. Growth felt like loss. Detachment felt cold. And moving on felt like betrayal of everything you once cared about. But this moon doesn't work that way. The January 25th moon is operating at a different frequency altogether. It's not asking you to fight your past. It's not asking you to forgive harder. It's not even asking you to understand everything that happened. Instead, it's gently loosening the emotional glue that kept you tied to old timelines, old versions of yourself, and old stories that no longer define who you are becoming. You may notice something strange happening. Thoughts about the past might still arise, but they don't sting the same way. Memories come, but they don't hijack your nervous system. Names, faces, places that once triggered emotional waves now feel distant, neutral, almost like remembering a dream you once had, but no longer live inside. This isn't avoidance. This isn't numbness. This is emotional completion. This is what happens when the soul finally integrates a lesson fully, instead of carrying it as a wound. The reason this is happening now is because you've already done the hardest work, often without realizing it. The sleepless nights, the overthinking, the self-questioning, the silent endurance, the moments when you felt stuck between who you were and who you couldn't yet become. All of that was preparation. All of that was the emotional labor required so that this release could happen gently instead of violently. The January 25th moon doesn't rip things away. It dissolves them. It doesn't close doors forcefully. It allows you to walk past doors you no longer feel the need to open. There's also a sense of emotional maturity arriving with this moon. Not the kind that feels heavy or serious, but the kind that brings peace. You may realize you no longer need closure conversations. You no longer need apologies that never came. You no longer need explanations that once felt essential for your healing. Not because those things wouldn't be nice to have, but because your inner world is no longer dependent on external validation to feel complete. And that is a powerful shift. Many people misunderstand this phase. They think something is wrong because they're not hurting anymore. They wonder if they've become detached, cold, or indifferent. But what's actually happening is integration. You're no longer living inside the emotional charge of the past. You're standing beyond it. And from this perspective, you can remember without reliving, reflect without reopening, and move forward without dragging emotional weight behind you. This moon also brings a deep sense of trust, not necessarily in people, but in life itself. You may feel less resistant, less guarded, less on edge. There's a quiet knowing that whatever had to happen has already happened, and whatever is meant to come doesn't require force. You're no longer gripping the steering wheel of life so tightly. You're allowing movement again, and this is why release feels painless. It's not forced. It's voluntary at a soul level. Another sign of this shift is a change in how you relate to time. The past feels farther away, the future feels less anxiety-inducing, and the present moment feels more stable. You may find yourself enjoying small things more. Silence, routine, familiar places, simple conversations. This isn't settling. This is grounding. This is the nervous system finally realizing it's safe to be here now. Emotionally, this moon is helping you reclaim energy that was locked in old cycles. Energy you didn't even realize you were spending. Energy that went into replaying scenarios, imagining different outcomes, holding space for people who are no longer aligned with your path. As that energy returns to you, you may feel lighter, clearer, and more focused, not in a dramatic way, but in a steady, sustainable way. What's important to understand is that this release doesn't mean the past didn't matter. It means it has fulfilled its purpose. The chapter is complete, not erased. The memories remain, but they no longer demand your emotional attention. And this is why this moon feels almost anticlimactic for some people. There's no big breakdown, no dramatic goodbye, just a quiet inner shift where you realize you're already free. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you. Spiritually, this is a sign that your consciousness has moved to a higher level of self-observation. You're no longer identifying as the version of you that was hurt, rejected, confused, or stuck. You're observing that version with compassion, but not attachment. And that distinction changes everything. It's the difference between carrying a scar and reopening a wound. As this moon settles, you may also feel a subtle excitement about the future, not because you know exactly what's coming, but because you finally trust yourself to handle whatever does. You're not afraid of repeating the past because you're no longer the same person who lived it. Your boundaries are different. Your awareness is sharper. Your intuition is stronger. And your standards, especially emotional ones, have evolved. So if you're noticing that you're letting go without pain, without grief, without emotional chaos, don't question it. Don't analyze it away. Don't go looking for feelings that are no longer there. This is a sign of deep healing, not avoidance. This is what happens when the soul decides it's done, suffering for lessons it has already mastered. Let this moon do its work quietly. You don't need to announce your release. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't need to justify why something no longer affects you. Some endings are meant to be peaceful, some closures are meant to happen in silence, and some transformations are meant to be felt only by you. If this message resonates, you'll feel it not as an emotional surge, but as a calm certainty. A sense that something heavy has lifted, even if you can't pinpoint the exact moment it happened. That's the January 25th moon, reminding you that healing doesn't always hurt, and that sometimes the greatest sign of growth is peace. What this painless release is preparing you for, as the January 25th moon continues to work through you, something deeper begins to reveal itself. This release without pain isn't just an ending, it's preparation. And this is where many people miss the real message. You didn't let go just to feel lighter. You let go because your inner world is being cleared to receive something that cannot coexist with old emotional residue. When emotional pain dissolves instead of erupts, it creates space, real space. Not the kind that immediately gets filled with distraction or noise, but the kind that stays open long enough for new alignment to enter. You may start noticing this as subtle shifts in your daily life. Your reactions change before your thoughts do. Situations that once pulled you into over-explaining, defending, or proving yourself now pass without effort. You don't feel the urge to chase clarity. You don't feel the need to correct misunderstandings. Silence feels complete instead of uncomfortable. This moon is teaching you a new relationship with power. Emotional detachment here does not mean disconnection, it means sovereignty. You are no longer emotionally available for cycles that don't nourish you. And because this shift happened gently, without trauma or drama, it means your nervous system is finally aligned with your higher awareness. You're not forcing growth, you're embodying it. There's also a recalibration happening in your desires. You may notice that some things you once wanted intensely no longer excite you the same way. Goals, people, or outcomes that once felt urgent now feel optional. This isn't loss of ambition, it's refinement. Your soul is becoming more selective because it no longer wants to invest energy in anything that requires emotional self-betrayal. And this selectiveness is a sign of emotional intelligence reaching maturity. Energetically, this moon is closing karmic loops, not through confrontation, but through neutrality. When you no longer react emotionally to a memory, a person, or a past version of yourself, the karmic contract dissolves naturally, no apology required, no explanation needed. The lesson has been integrated, and life moves on. You may also feel drawn to simplify your life during this phase. Fewer conversations, clearer routines, more time alone, not from isolation, but from inner fullness. Solitude feels nourishing instead of lonely. And this is important because it's in this quiet state that intuition becomes louder. You begin to sense what's aligned before logic catches up. This painless release is also resetting your emotional baseline. You're no longer operating from survival, healing, or recovery mode. You're entering a phase of presence. And presence is where manifestation becomes effortless, not because you're trying to attract something, but because you're no longer blocking it with unresolved emotional charge. If you feel like life is slowing down around you right now, that's intentional. This pause isn't stagnation, it's calibration. The universe doesn't rush transitions that require stability. It ensures your foundation is solid before momentum returns. And when it does, it will feel clean, focused, and strangely calm. This moon isn't just taking something away, it's teaching you how to move forward without dragging your past behind you. And once you learn that, nothing truly aligned with your future can miss you. Why this phase feels quiet, and why that's a sign of real transformation. One of the most confusing aspects of this January 25th moon is how quiet it feels. No emotional storm, no dramatic realizations, no overwhelming signs. And for many people, that silence triggers doubt. You may wonder if anything is really happening at all, but this is exactly how real transformation feels when it's integrated, not forced. Loud change happens when resistance is present. Quiet change happens when alignment is already underway. This moon is working below the surface of your conscious mind, rewiring how you process emotion, memory, and identity. Instead of pushing you to redefine yourself, it gently dissolves the outdated definitions you've been carrying. You're not becoming someone new. You're uncovering who you were before survival patterns took over. That's why there's no emotional pain. Pain arises when identity is threatened. But here, your identity is expanding, not collapsing. You're not losing yourself. You're shedding what was never truly you. You may notice that your inner dialogue has softened. The self-criticism quiets. The need to revisit the past weakens. Even when challenges arise, you respond with clarity instead of panic. This isn't emotional suppression. This is emotional regulation at a higher level of awareness. Spiritually, this phase marks a shift from healing consciousness to embodiment consciousness. Healing asks, "What happened to me?" Embodiment asks, who am I now that I understand? And this question doesn't come with pain, it comes with presence. You're also stepping out of emotional timelines that kept you looping. The past no longer defines your future, because your emotional reactions no longer recreate the same patterns. And this is the real reason why things begin to change rapidly after a phase like this. When emotion changes, reality follows. This moon may also be closing a chapter you didn't even realize was still open. A subtle attachment, a lingering hope, an unspoken expectation. And instead of grief, what replaces it is neutrality, peace, a sense of completion that doesn't need validation. If you feel emotionally lighter but also strangely grounded, that's your soul settling into a new frequency. One where peace is the baseline, not the reward. One where emotional stability doesn't depend on external circumstances. One where the past becomes wisdom instead of weight. This phase won't announce itself with fireworks. It will reveal itself through consistency, through calm responses, through the absence of emotional urgency, through the quiet confidence that you are no longer waiting for life to begin. And if you're here, listening to this, feeling that subtle inner shift, you're already living the answer.